All right, good morning, everybody. Well, over the last few years or so, I've had quite a few people ask me how to cast a bait cast reel. So I figured I would just do a little tutorial, a little video over it, and just kind of show the ins and outs on how these special reels work. Not everybody uses them. A lot of people use spin cast or the push buttons or what have you, but this one it's a little more delicate, and you got to know what you're doing whenever you're using this. So we'll just go through the basics and kind of get you on the road to being able to use one of these. They are very handy when it comes to bass fishing and stuff. You can control the cast a lot better. At least that's in just my experience and my opinion, is you can control the cast better. You can put all different kinds of lures on there, and you can adjust how much line comes out, how fast it comes out, and stuff like that. So let's just run through a few things and get you a little more familiar with the bait cast. Now this one is just Walmart brand bait cast, so nothing special. It's pretty cheap. Actually, I think I just got it from a buddy of mine that he didn't use it anymore. He didn't know how to use it, so I took it. So we'll just start off. So this right here is going to be your your push button. So it's your release. So whenever you push that button, that frees up your spool, and you're going into free spool, and it allows your string to go out whenever you cast out your lure, whatever lure you have on there, bait, whatever. And so whenever you do that, you got to keep, you got to make sure that your settings are correct. So let me throw this out here. Okay, so I got just a little 1 ounce swim bait on there right now. So like I said, this is your release. This is going to be your spool right here. Of course, this is where all your string is, all your line. And then right on this side, and I don't know if you could tell, but this is where the string, it goes through here, and it's just a guide. So whenever you're reeling it in, it moves side to side, and that's how it keeps your line on track whenever it reels back into your spool. And so that way you're not reeling over your line and making it where it's all tangled up and stuff, because it's going to make it very, very hard to cast it on your next cast if it's all bundled up together. So that's your guide, your push button. Or this is just your reel. So whenever you you cast it out there, whenever you hit your push button and you finally do cast it out there, you hear that click. I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but you use this and you just reel it in. And of course, depending on what lure you have, it will depend on how you reel it in. But just for this purposes, I'll just show you how to do it. So this is your reel. This is your drag. So it depends on how much drag you have, and whenever a fish hits your line, so whenever you push it backwards towards you, it releases your drag. And see, it's really easy. I could just pull it out, no problem. Okay, but the more I tighten it, I go forward, it gets a lot harder, right? And the harder you pull, the more that line in here sinks down into your other line. And so you want to try to leave your drag at a decent kind of midway setting, so you're not messing up your line in your spool, because you'll find that out. See, I don't know if you can tell right there, but I kind of messed it up right there. Anyway, but that's what you're called your drag. Now this little knob right here is probably your most important, because it depends on how heavy your lure is, or weight, or bait, or whatever you're using. However heavy that is, that's your setting on this thing right here. And so whenever you tighten it up, that tightens your spool, and it's how fast your spool will turn. And see, I let my button out, or I push my release button, and nothing happens. So you can see the lure out there, nothing's happening. But I can pull this out manually, but I can't. It won't go anywhere. It won't spool by itself. Now the more I slow down, I'll start to loosen this up. And see, there we go. I said it messed up. There we go. See how it just undoes it? And see, you got a little bit of bird's nest right there. So you don't want to do that. So that's a little too loose, right? So whenever you are trying to set your your setting right here, you need to get a good setting on, how tight you want it, how loose you want it. So just a kind of a good rule of thumb on how I do it is I'll make it to a certain setting, I'll tighten it to a certain point, and then I'll get my lure out there and I'll push my release button. And if it falls just like that, how it just fell straight to the ground, then I'll tighten it a little bit more. And then I'll do it again and see now it's barely going. And that's what you want right there, is you want it where your line is just barely going down, it slowly goes down to the ground. And that's where you want it, because that's where you can start to cast these things and not actually bird nest it and every time that you cast. And I know I keep saying the term bird nesting, and if you don't know what that is, that's whenever you cast a bait cast reel and the spool itself is spinning too fast, or if you don't catch it in time before your lure or your bait hits the water, your spool will continue to spin because you didn't stop it. So that's going to make it continue to go, and then all that string is going to start to bunch up right here, and it gets really tangled. It takes a minute to kind of get it undone, especially if you are new to it and you're not sure exactly how to do it. So just to kind of go over a few things, this is your spool. Of course, this is what holds your string, right? And of course, this is your guide line, your guide eye, and that's what keeps your string as you reel it in on track. And then, of course, you'll go down and you'll feed your string all the way down through your eyes, hook your lure or your bait onto the end of it. But release button, spool, guide eye, this is your reel, drag, and this is how tight and loose you want your spool to be. And so, technical term on that, I'm not 100% sure, but I just use it as, how tight and loose I want my drag. Now, they do have gears on this side. Now, I have my gear set pretty high, and it's just, the gears that are inside the reel itself for how fast you reel and stuff like that. So now this reel is a 6.3 and 1 and gear ratio. And the more gears, obviously, the smoother it's going to cast, the smoother it's going to reel and stuff. So, like I said, this one is just kind of a cheaper version of some of the other ones. I don't have anything real super expensive as far as bait cast and stuff. So, but whenever you go to cast this thing, so like I said, you got the lure on the end, and we already went over all the steps and stuff. So what you'll do is you'll push your release button, okay? But you want to keep your thumb on your spool, because if you don't, then your line's going to keep going out, and then you got to reel it back in, and that's just annoying. So you push your release button, you hold it with your thumb, and of course, just like any other fishing pole or reel, you'll rear back and you'll cast it out. And see, I didn't even touch that, and I didn't bird nest it because I have this gear setting for the spool. I have it set just right for this lure. So we'll do that again. Let me get it in here. Maybe we'll catch a fish on this. Okay, so like I said, so you hit your push button, hold it tight with your thumb, not too tight, and just kind of hold it there so it's not releasing on its own. Then you rear back, and whenever you release it, you kind of release in this, I would say at like a 1 o'clock, depending on where you're trying to cast, but normally I release it around like a 1 or a 2 o'clock, just so I can get it out straight, because normally I'm trying to cast out straight. And you can cast it, not too far. You can cast it short, and you can cast it far. But remember, the harder you cast it, the faster the spool is going to spin. So the more of a chance you're going to bird nest your spool. But you can control it though, and especially with your knob here, that you can control the tension on your spool. That's definitely going to help you. That's probably the most important thing on this reel, is if you don't tighten this or loosen this to the right amount for whatever lure you're using or for whatever weight you're using, then you're going to bird nest your reel, and you're going to spend half your time fishing just trying to untangle your line. So these reels are great, especially for bass fishing and stuff. Like I said before, you can target kind of where your line's trying to go. So especially like right now in the wind, it's a little harder, but I got a pretty decent size lure on here, so I can cast it pretty decently far. But even if it was, I was just trying to cast just right down here, just right across the bank, and see, I didn't even touch that because I had this set to the right amount. And then of course you just click your button shut after it hits the water, and you're ready to reel it in. Just hear that click and just reel it in. And of course, like I said, it depends on what lure you have is how you're going to work your reel and your rod. So anyway, if you have any more questions about it, hit me up in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them for you. I'll catch you on the next one.